He found her in the middle of the hot desert, lying next to a broken alien pod. The metal was still warm, smoke rising from its side, but what caught his eyes wasn't the wreck, it was her. She was so thin, her bones showing through pale, cracked skin. Her hair was tangled and dry like old straw. She didn't move, didn't speak, but her chest rose slowly. She was alive barely. Jace had been walking the sands alone for days, looking for scrap to sell. He never expected to find something like this. At first, he thought she was dead. Her eyes were closed, her lips dry and cut. But when he leaned close, she let out a soft, broken breath. He didn't know what she was. Her body didn't look fully human. Her ears were pointed, her skin had a faint silver glow in the sunlight, and strange markings ran down her arms. But something in her face made him pause. She looked scared, helpless, and even though she was from another world, she didn't look dangerous. She looked forgotten. Jace looked around. The area was quiet. No other survivors. No signs of a rescue team. If he left her here, she'd die before the sun set. So, without another thought, he took off his jacket, wrapped it around her shaking body, and picked her up. She was too light, like her body had been starving for weeks. He carried her back to his rover and laid her gently on a soft blanket in the back seat. As he drove toward his camp, her eyes opened for just a second. They were bright gold. They locked onto his, and for a moment, he thought he saw something trust, or maybe confusion, but then her eyes closed again. Back at the camp, Jace gave her water drop by drop. She coughed and choked, but she drank. He boiled a bit of soup and held the spoon to her lips. She swallowed slowly. Every move she made was weak and careful, like she was afraid even to breathe. For hours, she didn't speak, not a word. Just soft breathing and slow blinks. Her skin looked dry and cracked, but her eyes, they watched everything. She studied him as he moved, like a wild animal trying to understand whether to trust or run. That night, Jace sat by her side, watching the stars. He wondered what planet she came from. Why was she alone in that pod? Was someone chasing her, or had someone left her behind? Suddenly, she moved. Her thin fingers reached out and touched his arm. It was a light touch, almost like a question. Jace turned, and her golden eyes stared into his. Then, for the first time, she spoke. Just one word. One quiet, shaky whisper. Danger. Jace froze. His heart pounded. He leaned closer. What danger? Who's coming? But she didn't answer. Her body trembled, and she fell asleep again. The next morning, her condition had changed. Her skin looked a little less dry. Her breathing was stronger. Jace noticed something strange. Her wounds were healing faster than normal. Not just fast, almost impossible. Cuts were fading, bruises were gone. Her bones still showed, but the shape of her face was changing slightly, becoming softer. Jace couldn't explain it, but it was clear. She was recovering, fast. As he brought her more food, she sat up for the first time. She looked around, confused but calm. Her voice was still weak when she said, "Where am I?" "You're safe," Jace said. "You crashed. I found you in the desert." She stared at him, then nodded, slowly. "You helped me." "Yes, you were dying." She touched her chest, then her stomach. "Still hungry," Jace smiled gently. "We'll fix that." As she ate, something else caught his attention. The way she moved was changing. Her eyes sparkled. Her skin began to shine faintly. Her hair looked darker, fuller. He didn't know what was happening, but he could feel it. She wasn't just healing. She was becoming something else, something beautiful, something dangerous. And Jace had no idea what he had just brought back from the desert. Feeding the stranger, Jace watched her eat like she hadn't seen food in years. Her hands shook as she brought the spoon to her lips. her golden eyes wide and focused only on the bafamba bowl in front of her. She didn't say a word. She didn't look up, she just ate. Slowly at first, then faster, like something deep inside her had woken up. It was strange. She didn't ask what the food was, she didn't question him. She trusted him, but why? Was it because he saved her? Or was it something else, something deeper, more ancient? Her skin was already changing. A silver glow that once looked like sickness now shimmered like soft light. The bones that showed through her arms were slowly filling out. Her fingers were longer than human ones, and her nails looked like tiny glass blades, but there was no threat in her movements. Everything about her felt soft, careful, like she didn't want to scare him. After the meal, she sat quietly and watched Jace with curious eyes. She tilted her head like a child studying something new. Then she pointed to herself and said, "Lyra." Jace blinked. "Your name?" She nodded. "Lyra," he smiled. "I'm Jace." She tried repeating it, but her voice cracked. Yas. Close enough, he thought. That night, while Jace worked on fixing an old solar panel, he noticed Lyra standing near the edge of the light, her body half in shadow. She wore a loose blanket like a robe, but her figure underneath was no longer frail. Her back was straight, her movements smoother, faster. Jace couldn't stop staring. Just a few days ago, she looked like a dying creature. Now she looked ethereal, like something out of a dream. Her face still held alien features, but her lips were fuller, her eyes warmer. He shook his head. "Don't be stupid," he whispered to himself. "She's recovering. That's all." But deep down, he knew it wasn't that simple. Lyra turned to him and spoke softly. "Why? Help me?" Jace looked up. Her question cut through the quiet night. He didn't know how to answer. "Because you were going to die," he said. "And I don't like seeing anything suffer." She walked closer. The way she moved it was almost like a dance. Not human, not animal, something in between. She stopped just a few steps away from him. "I know pain," she whispered. "Long time, alone, cold, empty." Jace felt a chill. He wondered what kind of place she had come from, what kind of life she had escaped. Lyra sat down beside him and looked up at the stars. "Your sky is beautiful," he nodded. "Better with company." They sat in silence for a while. Then, out of nowhere, Lyra reached for his hand. Her fingers wrapped gently around his, her skin now warm and soft. Jace didn't pull away, but something changed in that moment. The warmth from her hand was strange. It wasn't just heat, it was energy, alive, flowing. He could feel his heart beat faster. Her eyes locked with his, glowing faintly. Lyra leaned closer, her voice barely a breath. "I feel different." "Because of you?" Jace couldn't speak. He didn't know what to say. Suddenly, a high-pitched sound came from the desert. Lyra tensed. Her body went stiff. Her eyes darkened. "They come," she said. "They hunt me." Jace grabbed his flashlight and scanned the dunes. Nothing. Just sand and wind. But Lyra's body shook not from fear, but from something else. "A memory? A warning? Who's coming?" he asked. Lyra's voice dropped low. "My kind. They will not stop. I ran. I broke rule." "What rule?" She looked at him, and her eyes shimmered with something close to shame. "I was not made to feel, not made to choose." Jace felt cold all of a sudden. He didn't understand it fully, but one thing was clear: Lyra was more than just an alien girl. She was something dangerous to her own kind. And they wanted her back. But she didn't want to return. She had chosen to stay. And that choice might bring war. The transformation begins. The first time Jace saw her step into the sunlight without trembling, he knew something had changed forever. Lyra was no longer the fragile creature he'd rescued from the desert. Her body moved with quiet power now, every step smooth, every breath calm. The skin that once looked like torn paper now shimmered like soft metal beneath the morning sun. She stood taller, stronger, and more dangerously beautiful than Jace had expected. She wore one of Jace's shirts, oversized and loose, but it couldn't hide the changes. Her hips had filled out. Her face looked more human than before, but still carried an otherworldly charm. Her lips held a soft curve that wasn't quite a smile, but it made Jace forget how to breathe for a second. He tried to stay focused. She was still recovering, still learning how to live outside that broken pod. But she was also something else. Now something awakening. "Your food," she said, carrying a metal tray from the rover, "has many flavors. I like sweet." Jace blinked. "You're cooking now?" She nodded proudly. "I watch you. Then I try." The toast was half burnt and the eggs were too salty, but it didn't matter. She had made them. Her fingers had learned, and her mind was clearly absorbing everything around her. That's what frightened him the most. She wasn't just healing, she was adapting, faster than anything Jace had ever seen. By the end of the week, Lyra's voice had grown smoother, her English sharper. She asked questions about Earth, about humans, about emotions. "Why do people hide what they feel?" she asked once. "Why does your heart speed up when you look at me too long?" Jace had no answer. He only knew that when she looked at him, it felt like gravity had shifted. But one evening, as they sat near the campfire, Lyra said something that made him sit up. "I was not born like this," she whispered. "I was built." "Built?" She nodded slowly, her eyes locked on the dancing flames. "My kind, we are made, for one reason, to control, to charm, to destroy from inside." Jay stared at her. "You mean you're some kind of weapon?" Lyra hesitated, then looked him in the eyes. "Yes, but I broke. I felt fear. Then I felt you." His heart thudded in his chest. "What do you feel now?" She leaned forward slightly. "Confused, safe, pulled toward you." Jace didn't know what to say. Her words were soft, but her eyes were fierce, honest. He could feel her sincerity, and that made everything more dangerous, because she wasn't supposed to feel. And yet, here she was, wanting him, choosing him. That night, he caught her watching her reflection in the mirror. She tilted her head, studying her form. Her fingers brushed along her cheek, then traced her lips. "This face, it changes," she whispered to herself, becoming something for him. As Jace walked into the room, she turned. Her body lit softly with a silver glow, and her expression was unreadable. "I think my body listens to my heart now," she said. "It wants to please you." "Lyra," Jace said, stepping closer, unsure if he should stop this. "You don't have to change for me." She shook her head gently. "I am not changing for you. I am changing because of you." Before he could speak again, a sudden flash appeared in the sky. A distant ship crossed the stars, glowing red. Lyra's expression changed instantly. Her skin dimmed, her shoulders tensed. "They're close," she said quietly. "They will feel me soon. Then we run." "No," she whispered. "We prepare." Jace felt the air grow cold. Lyra was no longer just an alien girl who survived a crash. She was something new now, part weapon, part woman, and part mystery. Whatever came next, he knew one thing. She wasn't just changing for survival. She was evolving, and it might be for him, or because of him. And that made her even more dangerous than he feared. The truth about her species, the sun had barely risen when Jace found himself staring at the alien pod he once dragged parts from. This time he wasn't looking for metal. He wanted answers. The blinking lights inside the cracked console still pulsed softly, like a dying heartbeat. He reached into the control core and tapped into the pod's data, hoping it hadn't been. Completely fried. What he found chilled him. Lyra's pod wasn't a simple escape vessel. It wasn't built for rescue. It was built for release. Inside were files, holograms, genetic maps, mission directives, and a name stamped across the top of every document in strange but slowly translating letters: Project Siren. Jace sat back in shock. The files told a dark story. Her kind had created thousands like her beings of unnatural beauty, programmed to charm, infiltrate, and destroy the enemies of their empire from within. They were sent ahead of the invasion, not with weapons but with smiles, with softness. They were living traps, and Lyra was one of them. He felt sick. All the kind gestures, all the gentle looks, every moment that made his heart beat faster. Was it all a setup? Was he just another target? He didn't realize Lyra was behind him until she whispered, "You know now." Jace turned sharply. Her eyes were dimmer than usual, not glowing, not warm, just sad. "You're not just some survivor," he said. "You were made to destroy people like me." Lyra stepped forward slowly. "Yes, I was made that way. But I am not the same anymore." Jace tried to stay calm. "Then explain it. Why me? Why act like you care?" Lyra looked down at her hands. "I don't know when it changed. I was supposed to trick you, make you trust me, then signal my kind. But something broke when you touched me. You didn't treat me like a tool. You didn't want anything from me." Her voice trembled. "And then I wanted nothing from you except to stay close." Jace didn't speak. He couldn't. His mind raced between the memories of the first time he saw her, how her voice had softened over days, how her eyes lit up when he praised her cooking. Could any of it have been real? "I didn't fake the feelings," she said quietly. "They weren't in my programming." Jace turned away. "But maybe you're just doing your job so well that even you believe it now." Lyra flinched like he'd struck her. "You think I want this?" she asked. "You think I chose to be born in a lab? That I enjoy feeling things I don't understand? That I enjoy being hunted by my own kind because I chose you over them?" Her voice cracked. Her hands balled into fists. For the first time since they met, she didn't look soft or seductive. She looked human, angry, hurt, real. "I could have called them," she whispered. "I still could, right now. They would tear this camp apart in minutes. But I didn't." Jace looked at her, then really looked. Her eyes were wet, her lips trembled, and the glow in her skin was flickering like a light losing power. He stepped closer. "Why didn't you?" She looked up. "Because I don't want to be what they made me." The silence between them grew heavy. The only sound was the distant wind across the sand. Then a beeping sound echoed from inside the pod. A signal had been sent. Not by her, but by the pod itself. Lyra's face went pale. "They know I'm alive." Jace grabbed his pack. "Then we leave. Now?" But Lyra shook her head. "No, it's too late. They'll come faster now." "What do we do?" She looked at him, her voice firm now. "We fight, but not just with weapons. I know how they think. I was one of them. I know how to stop them, because I know what they fear." "What's that?" Lyra stepped close, her skin glowing softly once more. "Choice, emotion, love. They can't control what they don't understand." Jace finally understood something too. Lyra hadn't just broken programming, she had become something her makers never imagined. Unpredictable. And that made her the greatest threat her kind had ever created. Asterisk, the hunt begins. The sky wasn't supposed to burn, but as Jace looked up, that's exactly what it did. Flashes of crimson light streaking across the horizon like fire slicing through the clouds. The sand below glowed red for a moment, then settled into a trembling silence. The kind of silence that comes before something terrible. Lyra stood at the edge of the ridge, her eyes fixed on the glowing trail above. Her face was calm. Too calm. "They're here," she whispered, "faster than I thought." Jace felt his chest tighten. "Can we hide?" Lyra shook her head. "They don't need eyes to see. They'll smell me, feel me." He grabbed her hand. "Then we move, far from here." She turned to him slowly. "Running won't change what's coming, but we have to try," he said. "We can't just sit and wait for them to take you." "They won't take me," she said, her voice low and steady. "Not alive." The wind picked up, sweeping across the camp and lifting the dust around their boots. In that moment, Jace realized something deep. Lyra wasn't afraid. She was preparing. They traveled under the cover of night, walking for hours across open land until they reached the hidden entrance to an old military bunker one Jace had used before to store scavenge tech. Thick steel doors, radiation shielding, buried deep under rock. If there was any place left to hide, this was it. Inside, the air was cold and dry. Lyra explored every corner with a strange mix of curiosity and urgency. She touched the walls, the lights, the old control panels, as if trying to remember something from a dream. "I feel them," she said suddenly. "One is near, maybe more." Jace didn't ask how she knew. By now, he believed her instincts more than his own sensors. "They'll search the desert first," she continued. "Then they'll look for places that block signals, like this." Jace frowned. "So we're not safe here?" "No," she said. "But we have time. Not much. Enough to prepare." He watched her move through the bunker like she belonged there. She wasn't the weak creature he'd carried weeks ago. Now she was in control, focused, and something else. Her body had changed even more. Her movements were graceful, precise. The soft shimmer of her skin had grown brighter, as if reacting to the danger outside. "You're different again," Jace said. "I'm growing," she replied, "because I must." Lyra sat down and closed her eyes. For a moment, she was completely still. Then she whispered, "One is female, strong." "My sister," Jace blinked. "You mean another like you?" "She was made better, sharper. No weakness. She will not hesitate. And if she finds us, she'd try to take me back or kill me. And then she'd kill you." Jace swallowed hard. "So how do we stop her?" Lyra opened her eyes, glowing brighter than before. "With what she doesn't expect. I've learned fear. I've learned loyalty. She has not." They spent the night rigging old traps from the military stockpiles, trip sensors, electric nets, MP grenades. Jace handled the tech. Lyra taught him how her kind hunted, how they moved without making sound, how they read heat from footprints. "They don't sleep," she said. "They don't feel guilt. But they do feel pain if you know where to strike." Jace looked at her closely. "Have you ever killed one of your kind?" Lyra paused. "No, but I will if I must." Before dawn, she stood outside the bunker, her body glowing faintly in the early light. Her clothes were tight-fitting now, something she crafted herself from scavenged fabric, shaped to her growing figure. She looked like a goddess from a forgotten world. But her eyes were pure war. Jace stepped beside her. "You don't have to face them alone," she shook her head. "I do. But I won't leave you." The sand moved in the distance, quiet but sure. A ripple in the dunes, like something crawling just beneath the surface. Lyra turned toward it, her lips parting slightly. Her voice came out as a whisper, but it was more like a promise. "He's mine now. I won't go back. I won't let you take him." Jace looked at her, not with fear anymore, but awe. She wasn't just preparing for a fight. She was claiming her place in the world, and she was ready to destroy anyone who tried to take it from her. The last seduction, the wind went still. Not a single grain of sand moved as the sleek alien ship touched down in the canyon, silent and smooth like a beast stalking its prey. Its surface was black like glass, shaped not for war, but for elegance, beauty, and fear. The doors hissed open. She stepped out. Not Lyra, but the other one. Her sister, Jace, watched from the shadows of the bunker's upper ridge, gripping a stun rifle with trembling fingers. He had never seen anything like her. She was taller than Lyra, her features sharper, too perfect, too smooth. She looked like a statue brought to life, sculpted to seduce and destroy. Her silver skin shimmered with power and her hair flowed. Behind her like liquid metal, Lyra walked toward her slowly, no weapon in hand. Her sister tilted her head. "You were the most promising one," she said. Her voice was soft but cold. "Why choose failure?" "I chose freedom," Lyra answered. "You chose weakness. You let a human touch you. Let emotion grow like infection in your code." Lyra smiled faintly. "It wasn't weakness. It was strength. You wouldn't understand." "I don't need to," her sister said. "I was made perfect. I was sent to erase mistakes." Jace wanted to run to Lyra's side, but she held up one hand, without turning around, stopping him. This was her fight. Lyra took a slow step forward. "You were built to control. I was built to seduce. But now I'm something else." Her sister narrowed her eyes. "You think you've evolved? You've only broken." "No," Lyra whispered. "I've awakened." With a sudden flash, her sister moved. Faster than anything Jace had ever seen. In 1 second, she was 20 feet away. The next, she was in front of Lyra, claws drawn. But Lyra didn't flinch. Instead, she leaned in and kissed her. Not on the lips, but on the forehead, softly. As if saying goodbye. Her sister froze. Jace didn't understand what was happening until he saw Lyra's skin flare bright white for just a moment. A pulse, a wave. Then silence. Her sister stumbled backward, her breath caught. "What did you do?" she asked, her voice suddenly shaking. Lyra stepped back. "I gave you something you've never had. A choice." Her sister blinked. Once, twice. Then her face twisted with something new. Confusion. Fear. No, I don't want to feel this." "You don't have to," Lyra said gently. "But now you know what it's like to care even just a little." Suddenly, her sister screamed a piercing, unnatural sound. Her body trembled. Her form began to shift. Her glow cracked, and then she ran. Not toward Lyra, not toward the ship, but away. Into the desert. Vanished. Jace, he stepped out of hiding. "What did you just do?" Lyra turned to him slowly, her glow now soft again. "We were made to make others feel. I turned that power inward. Gave her emotion. It broke her." Jace looked at her with a mix of fear and wonder. "You used what they gave you to defeat her." "She would have killed you," Lyra said quietly, "and I won't lose you." The wind picked up again. The ship, now abandoned, blinked red. Warning lights lit up across its hull. Then a countdown appeared, written in alien code. "Self-destruct," Lyra said. "It will destroy the tech so no one else finds it." Jace grabbed her hand. "Then let's go." They ran from the blast zone just as the ship lit the sky behind them like a second sunrise. The heat washed over their backs, but Lyra didn't look back. She didn't need to. That part of her life, her programmed past, was gone in the flames. Later that night, as they sat near the old campfire, Jace stared into the flickering light. Lyra leaned her head on his shoulder. "I don't know what I am now," she whispered, "but I know I'm not theirs anymore." Jace looked at her. "Then whose are you?" She looked up, her golden eyes soft. "I'm mine. But I'm yours, too, if you'll have me." He didn't answer with words. He simply held her hand, and in the quiet desert, Beneath the sky finally free of chasing lights, they sat together, two beings, no longer hunter and hunted, no longer weapon and target, just together. Beyond species, beyond love. Months passed. The desert no longer looked like death. Wildflowers had begun to bloom near the edge of the ravine where the alien ship once exploded. Life was creeping back, quiet, steady, unnoticed by most, just like her. Lyra now walked among humans, not as a shadow, not as a secret, but as someone entirely new. She had changed her appearance again, not from need, but by choice. Her silver skin had faded into a warm tan, her glowing eyes softened into hazel, and her sharp alien features now curved in a way that made strangers stop and stare, not in fear, but in fascination. Jace had helped her find a place in a quiet town far from where her pod crashed. He called her the Miracle Girl. No one knew the truth. They saw a beautiful woman who healed quickly, spoke gently, and seemed to understand people better than they understood themselves. And she did. That was the terrifying part. Lyra could still feel the old instincts, the programming buried deep beneath the emotions she now chose to keep. Sometimes in the mirror, she'd see the seductress she was made to be, the weapon designed to manipulate. But when she turned and Jace smiled at her like she was a gift instead of a threat, the fear faded, because she wasn't that thing anymore. One evening, as they walked through the town square, Lyra noticed a group of women watching Jace from across the plaza. They whispered and giggled as he passed. Lyra tilted her head, amused. "You attract many eyes," she said with a smirk. Jace laughed. "Only one matters." She leaned in closer, teasing. "That one will protect you from all others." Their laughter echoed softly through the fading light. They looked like any other couple, ordinary, peaceful. No one could have guessed what they had survived, what Lyra had become. But peace never lasts. Not when you carry the blood of a weapon and the heart of a rebel. Late one night, as Jace slept beside her, Lyra sat awake, staring at a glowing screen. A signal pulsed gently, not from Earth, not from her kind, from something else, a different species, not enemies, not allies. Observers. The message was clear. We saw what you did. We saw what you chose. And now, we're coming to see for ourselves. Lyra touched the screen, her fingers trembling. She had escaped her creators. She had defeated the one meant to return her to the fold. But now, her choice, her humanity, had drawn the attention of others. "What are you thinking about?" Jace murmured, half asleep. Lyra turned, forcing a soft smile. "Just the stars." He reached for her hand in the dark. "You still afraid of them?" She shook her head. "No, I'm afraid of what might follow me from them." Jace sat up. "Whatever comes, we'll face it. Together." She smiled. "For real then? You sound so sure." "I've seen you take down a genetically engineered seductress without lifting a finger. I think we'll be fine." Lyra laughed, softly, pressing her forehead to his. Outside, the stars blinked in silent agreement or warning. But inside their home, something stronger stirred. It wasn't fear. It wasn't programming. It was love, real, unplanned, undesigned, and it made her more dangerous than any weapon her kind had built. Because now she had something worth fighting for, not to please her creators, but to protect her choice, her life, her Jace. If the stars came knocking again, they would meet not a slave, not a siren, but a woman who had once been skin and bones and now stood taller than empires, because she had chosen to feel and to love. And nothing in the galaxy was more powerful than that.